All right. Hi, friends. Hi, everyone. I am going live a little later than planned, but I'm here today to talk about the North Node, aka your astrological North Star. So I'm going to wait another minute or two and just let some folks hop in here on the live. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily. I am a teacher, a coach, and a business mentor. And my gift and my passion is grounding the spiritual into reality. So taking concepts like astrology and human design and tarot and making them very digestible and very applicable to modern life and modern business. So, hi, friends, welcome. I'm here this evening, this afternoon, whatever time it is, to talk about the North Node. And I'm really excited to share about this concept because honestly, it was what drew me into astrology. When I learned about the North Node, which I'll share a little bit more about, like my story, and this was the moment that I was like, what is this astrology thing? Like somebody who didn't know that much about me just told me something that rung so true that felt like they saw me. And that was when they introduced me to my North Node. So if you're just joining live, welcome. I am going to share a little bit about the North Node, which is a point on your astrological birth chart. And it's one that isn't always talked about. I think most people know of their sun sign and maybe they know their moon sign and their rising sign. And like perhaps you've heard me talk about Saturn, or maybe you've heard about Mercury and Mercury retrograde. But the North Node is a really interesting point because it can help. It's like one point on your chart that can really help you make decisions that will bring your soul more joy. And isn't that what we all want? Like more joy, more happiness, more alignment, more fulfillment. These are all things that you can learn from studying and then living from a place of your North Node. So I do want to say I'm teaching a class on this tomorrow night, so Monday, March 8th at 7 p.m. And I want to introduce the concept, show you where you can find the North Node on your birth chart, share my story, what got me interested in studying this point. And then if you're interested in going deeper, you can join me for class. And as always, there will be a replay if you're unable to join live. All of those details you can find linked in my bio, but hang out here if you're watching this live and stick around for a little bit. So hi friends, welcome. Just here to talk about the North Node. So if you do have your astrological birth chart, go ahead and grab that. Or if you're watching on your phone and you can't pull it up, no problem. You can go look at it later. But if you have a computer nearby and you can pull up your birth chart, go ahead and do that. Because I'm going to show you in just a minute where you can locate the North Node on your chart. But first, I want to share why this point is so important and why it's so meaningful to me. So, as I mentioned, your North Node is like your astrological North Star. Whereas last month I was talking a lot about Saturn. Saturn can tell you a thing or two about your life's lessons, areas that might be specifically challenging, but also big areas for growth for you in this lifetime. Your North Node is like this point that can tell you by following the strategies of the sign of your North Node, by leaning into that sign, you can bring your soul more joy. So both your Saturn and your North Node are these beautiful points that can help you, give you clues as to what might help you evolve. And where Saturn might be more constricting in the areas that might bring you challenge, the North Node is like something that you can use in everyday decision making to find more joy. Now, how I first learned about the North Node, this was, I don't even know how many years ago, many years ago when I had first started my coaching business. I was seeing an acupuncturist, amazing acupuncturist in New York City. And it was one of our first sessions together. She knew that I was a yoga teacher. That's how we connected. because she practiced at the studio where I taught. She knew that I was a yoga teacher, but I don't think she knew much else about me. And after our first session, our first or second session, she was like, do you know much about your like astrology? And at that point, like I kind of did. I knew that I was a Pisces, but I hadn't really gone deep into it. And she pulled up my chart, and what she told me like kind of blew my mind. So some of you might know that I was an accountant in a past life. And by past life, I mean a previous version of this life. When in my younger 20s, I was an accountant, a CPA. And now I am an entrepreneur, I'm a coach, I'm a teacher. I talk about all these concepts, woo-woo, astrology, tarot, and though I teach them in a way that grounds them into reality. And I see that as a beautiful expression of me really stepping into my North Node, which is in Pisces, which also happens to be my sun sign and my moon sign. So it's an interesting combination. But our North Node tells us, like, our North Node is a point on our chart, and it tells us, like, karmically what we're evolving into in this lifetime, what's going to bring our soul the most joy. Now, the opposite point on the zodiac is your South Node. And your South Node tells you karmically what you're evolving away from. So what you've experienced or learned in past lives, and that can be like, past lives, actual other lifetimes, other timelines. It can also be your childhood, your early adulthood. Usually the North Node starts to activate, or you really start to lean into it in your 30s, like after your Saturn return. And if you're unfamiliar with Saturn or Saturn return, I have a video from a few weeks back where I share about that concept. But so you don't just study this North Node, you also look at the South Node, because it tells you what you came in with, like what's easy for you, what's natural for you, what you can kind of lean back into. Now, my North Node is in Pisces, which means my South Node is in Virgo. And Virgo is many things. Some things that describe Virgo is this sign is detail oriented. This sign is reliable. It's an earth sign, so it's really grounded. This sign is a perfectionist for sure. And these are all things that absolutely described a younger version of me, and probably a version of me in past lives. Now, my work, or like my practice in stepping more into this. So I should clarify that even though you come in with all of the characteristics of your South Node, that's not what you're being asked to lean into in this lifetime. You can use these beautiful gifts, because every single sign of the zodiac, and this is what I teach in your Stellar Center, every sign of the zodiac has a shadow and also has its strengths. And so we can lean into these strengths of our South Node, but utilize the South Node to serve our North Node and find more joy, because that's what the North Node is all about, and find more, just more alignment with our soul. So going back to the story of how I was introduced to this, my acupuncturist pulled this up. She didn't know much about me. She saw that my North Node was in Pisces and my South Node was in Virgo. And I don't remember exactly what she said to me, but I was like, oh my God, yes, that's me. And essentially what her like closing remark, and she's not an astrologer, but she did know astrology, and in this like perspective. And what she said to me was like, you definitely are on your soul's path. Like, you're stepping away from this past life, because she shared about what Virgo was. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's basically accountant Emily, perfectionist Emily, like having the same routines, having the same rituals every single day, Emily, which are very powerful. This is not to say that those are negative things, but my soul in this lifetime is not being asked to lean into those Virgo, or like really ground into those Virgo traits. it's being asked to take some of that structure, some of that analytical nature, some of that routine and ritual, but then use it to serve a Piscean purpose, which is healing, which is love, which is spirituality, which is the unseen world. And so at this point, I had just started like teaching yoga and, working on my coaching business. And so it was a really nice, like little nudge to say, like, you're in the right direction. You're in the right place and you're going in the right direction. So I want to share a little bit more, like, what is the North Node exactly? Because maybe you're thinking, like, the North Node, I've never heard of that. Is that a planet? Is that a star? And then I want to show you where you can find it on your birth chart, and also why you might have gotten this from what I've shared already, but why you might want to study your North Node placement. So the North Node is an interesting, I keep saying it's a point on your birth chart because it is a mathematical point. It's not like when we study the birth chart, or we look at the birth chart, we have a sun placement, we have a moon placement, we have a Mars placement, and a Mercury placement, and these are all planets in our solar system. But the North Node isn't a planet. It is just a mathematical point that is calculated. And what's cool about the North Node is there's a lot of astrology that you can study even if you don't know your birth time, but much of the astrological birth chart gets more specific and more nuanced and more accurate if you know your birth time. You don't need to know your birth time to find your North Node. So you can put your information into a site like astro.com, and even if you don't know your birth time, you can still get that North Node. And it's such a powerful thing to know because, like I said, when you know your North Node, you can start to make more decisions from a place of your North Node versus your South Node. You might notice that your tendency, especially in your younger years, or when you're feeling uncomfortable, when you're feeling unsure, when you're in a new territory, your tendency might be to step back into your South Node. We use the characteristics of the South Node, but we step into the North Node. And so that's why it is important and powerful, even if you don't study the whole birth chart. If you just find out your North Node, you can start to make decisions that will fulfill your soul more, simply from knowing this point. So you study the North Node, and also you'll study the South Node, because you study the North Node to know, okay, well, what steps do I take in that direction? What does it mean to act more like a Pisces? But you also want to study the South Node to know, like, when you might be falling back into those South Node habits. And I see it for myself, and this is a conversation that has come up a lot recently, especially this week. So it's really perfect that I'm brushing up on studying this concept and preparing to teach it for the class tomorrow. One of the like warning, I would say like a warning sign of leaning too much into that Virgo energy is the desire to control, is the desire to plan, is the desire to have everything mapped out. And whereas Pisces is a water sign, it's dreamy, it's go with the flow, it's trust, it's all about faith. And there have been a few situations, one situation in specific in my life recently where I'm like, I just want to control it. And I know when I go into that, like it never turns out. Like it never works out. The best situations, the best outcomes for my life and also for my business, especially of late, have come when I, show up and do the work and use like the diligence and the discernment of that Virgo North Node. But I also like hand it over and I say, I trust you, universe. Like, I know that there's a different timeline. I know that I can't control all of this. I just want to check my notes and see if there's anything else that I wanted to share in this intro. If anybody's live and has a question, please feel free to pop it in the chat. Oh, I need to show you how to find your North Node. Okay, so if you have your astrological birth chart, I have a printed version of mine right here. And I know this won't be the most clear because it's just on, Instagram Live, but I'm going to also post a graphic either later tonight or tomorrow morning that will show you exactly if you're still having trouble figuring it out. So you want to pull up your astrological birth chart, and like I mentioned, you do not have to know your birth time to find your north node. And every chart will look slightly different depending on the software that you use. This is from astro.com, and you'll see over on this side there's like a key. And on that key, you'll see Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, all the planets listed out. And then towards the bottom, after Pluto, you'll see either, depending on the software that you use, it'll say North Node or True Node. And then you'll see to the right of that, there's a sign. If you used a different, I use astro.com, so you can use that and you'll get a chart that looks like this. If you use another software, it might be somewhere slightly different, but North Node and True Node are the same thing. You can also look for the glyph, and in astro speak, the symbol is a glyph is a symbol. The symbol for the North Node is an upside down horseshoe. So it's like a horseshoe with the opening on the bottom. And I'll try and show this to the camera. You can look on the chart itself. See that little upside down horseshoe? That's the North Node. So you can find both the sign that your North Node is in and also in your house. And we're going to go into specifically what it means. I spoke a little bit about the Virgo Pisces South North Node axis on this live. We're going to go into what it means to be for all of the North Node placements on the class that I'm teaching tomorrow. So that's how you find your North Node. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. I don't think so. That's all. Again, I just wanted to introduce the concept. And if for folks joining live, let me know, or if you're watching this replay, when you find your North Node, comment and let me know what it is, because it's super fascinating. And I suggest this if you're going to come to class tomorrow, find your North Node. Oh, sorry, still in a little nappy, sleepy mode over here. Also just Sunday mode and in the spirit of the North Node and not having to be perfect about everything and everything not having to be specifically planned. I showed up today without being fully practiced or have a full script written out. And that's something I've been leaning into more and more. Again, to step into the go with the flow, trust, use your intuition, Pisces North Node. So when you find your North Node, you'll also know what your South Node is. The South Node is always the exact opposite sign on the zodiac. And if you don't know what that is, you can just Google it, opposite sign to Pisces, opposite sign to Libra. But it's the sign that's 6 months later or 6 months before. So you can Google that. Also, if you come to class tomorrow, I'm going to clearly go through all of the pairings. And like I mentioned, it's just as important to study your South Node because you want to know when you might be falling back into those South Node patterns, and then how you can act differently to lean into your North Node. So if this was interesting for you, if you're curious in learning more, like I said, this is one astrological placement that even if you don't study the whole birth chart, it might be really fascinating for you to learn about your North Node and use it to start to make decisions that bring your soul more joy. I'm going to be teaching about the North Node and, like I said, going into detail for every single North Node placement, North and South Node pair, in my class tomorrow night. You can get tickets on Eventbrite. Oh, hey, Mom. My mom just joined the Instagram Live. Hey. I'm going to be teaching more about this in my class tomorrow night. So it's on Monday the 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can get tickets linked in my bio. If you're unable to join live, there's always a replay that's sent out within 24 hours. And with this class, haven't made them yet, but I am planning on making some slides that I'll also send out. So you'll have all of that information to reference back to. And not just the class replay, you'll also have notes. So yeah, I would love to have you in class. You can find the link to get those tickets in my bio or on my website. Again, it's through Eventbrite and there will be a replay. Whether or not you decide to join class tomorrow, I would love to know when you find your North Node, what is it? Let me know in the comments below. All right, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your Sunday evening, and I will see you all soon.